In today's episode, I finished the shaved engine bay by sanding, bogging, more sanding, and finally some painting, and turn this engine bay from this into this. Proudly supported by Superior Engineering, Diesel Conversions Australia, and in part by... All right, it is another day in the shed and we are working on the GQ project again. Now, in the last episode, we welded up all of the holes and it is looking good. Over here, I did buy the paint the other day and I don't know how this is gonna turn out. It's kind of experimental. The guys at the paint shop were helping me out as much as possible with what I want, but we're kind of just gonna send it and see how it turns out. I've got a specific look in mind. It might not work, but if it does, it's gonna look good. So being as bare as she is, we are already pretty well progressed into getting this thing ready. Now, the only thing I really need to do is tidy up some of these welds that have come through from the other side. And then we need to go ahead and sand and start filling all of the little nicks and grooves that the welder kind of makes because it doesn't fill the metal properly. You can see all these little grooves here. So we'll go through, fill them with a bit of bog, fill the firewall, get rid of this rust, start tidying up all of this stuff here. And that way we can go ahead and start prepping this for paint. The other thing I really want to get done today is we have a Diff bracing kit from Adventure Corp. So I want to whack that, weld that, not whack it, onto the front diff here because we may as well paint the diff and the chassis while we're at it. It's kind of the same paint, you'll see what I mean later on, but while we're in here, I think we may as well get the front of the chassis done, get the diff done, get it braced up so it's looking really tough and nice and strong. I'm also going to paint the inside of these fenders. You can see a little bit of rust starting to form, so you might even have to treat that. And then I want to paint the whole side of this chassis as well as the coil towers and stuff. That way the whole front of this car will be done. Then we can move on to the rest of the body work probably in the next few episodes. Now, the good thing about doing this with the chassis today as well is I don't really care about any of this suspension. It's got like a home brand 2-inch lift in it and it's pretty well clapped out. So I'm gonna paint it. I'm literally won't even be masking the suspension up. Just paint over the top of it, not too worried about overspray. And when we get our new suspension in, we'll unbolt the old stuff that's got overspray on it, put the new stuff in. It's what I do with most of my cars and it turns out really nice. I'm actually really nervous about painting this because it's a lot of work if I stuff it up. I'm not sure if this paint is gonna work, but I have a feeling it's gonna turn out good. I'm just a little bit nervous that it's gonna turn out bad. Right, that is the engine bay pretty well sanded down. Now, we could only get so much with the orbital sander, so a lot of that was hand sanding. It's been about 4 or 5 hours. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which went pretty quickly. Now, the only thing left to do is to use some bog, and I do want to rust convert this. I got it as good as I could with a wire wheel, but I think just these little tiny little pits and stuff, they may have a little bit of rust in there. So I'm gonna go buy some rust converter and spray that on that. And in the meantime, what we'll do is brace this diff up. Now right here, I've got a front and rear diff bracing kit from Adventure Corp. I'm only going to be doing the front today just because that's kind of the area that we are working on. But these are really cool because they're like a flat pack. They come disassembled like this, and then you just put them together like a puzzle, and then we can weld it onto the diff. Now, the problem with doing a diff bracing kit on a diff in situation is that it's really hard to weld. So ideally you'd be pulling the diff out. I can't be bothered. I'm going to be doing it in there, get into some pretty awkward spots. There is a link in the description of this video to the Adventure Corp website, and I've also got a discount code which is down there as well. So if you want any of this stuff, definitely jot that code in, save a bit of money, and yeah, you can brace your diff at home yourself. Right, so I've got a bit of scrap first, the same thickness. I'll set up the welder on that. It's always a good idea because you are going to see this, and I don't want the welds to look ugly and be setting them up halfway through. So quickly set it up on this. All right, that looks good. So I might do this pumpkin first, make that nice and pretty, and we can move to the other stuff. Right, they are welded up except for the middle piece on this truss here. Now they're red hot, so I'm not going to touch them just yet, but the middle piece is down here. What I'm actually going to do, just to add a little bit of strength, and I think it is the way you're meant to do it, is weld that perfectly in the center, and that way this will be welded to the diff as well. Then we can drop the truss on top, do the little plug welds on these tabs that it comes with. That way the middle one gets welded and it'll be a lot stronger. The pumpkin here, we'll just go around the outside and weld that up. That shouldn't be too big of a drama. It's just going to be annoying getting to some of the spots, but you got to do what you got to do. I'm basically going to do a test fit first with just the plate. All right, so I've gone ahead and just marked the center of where this thing is sitting good. That can stay there for now. So I get the welder ready. Ouch, weld it up. Ah. All right, now we test this. Oh, that's hot. Now we test this with the glove on. All right, so I've got that just sitting in place and it's all nice and flat. I've kind of checked right around it, so it's time to burn in that middle piece. Then we can sit that back on and weld right around that. Right, that is now the diff bracing kit done. That thing is one beefy diff. Now, we are not gonna have any issues with smacking that pumpkin. That thing is tough as. A little bit annoying to weld in there. Definitely would recommend pulling the diff out and make it a lot easier, but the time we've saved is pretty good at the moment. Now, I already know there's gonna be at least 13 people commenting that I should have put a GU diff under here. And I did think about it. I've seen what people charge for those GU diffs and I wasn't willing to pay for that just yet. It may be something that we do in the future, but for now we're only running 35s, the GQ diffs. You know, they aren't as strong as GU, but if you drive it right, they are, you know, they're pretty strong. So I'm not silly, I did decide to keep the GQ diff in this car, and we'll just see how long it lasts. We might even just upgrade the CVs to chromoly CVs and just keep this in here. We've already done the locker, braced it up now, so she's definitely staying. So the only thing that I want to do to that diff, which I might do tomorrow, is run some seam sealer around the welds. You don't really want any water or moisture to get into that pumpkin cover there. So if I just get some seam sealer and just ooze it right around the diff housing there, it's going to be nice and watertight. Even if there's a little pinhole, it'll seal it up. So we need to do that. Now, the only other thing I want to do today is quickly spray this in some ferrous stuff, some rust preventative, and anywhere else that I sort of found rust. So down in that back corner and here, I might just give them a little bit of treatment. That way we can come in tomorrow and start bogging all of those nooks and grooves up. Then we've got more sanding, then we can get on to the exciting part, which is the paint. I'm very excited to see how this turns out. Now, I'm using this product called Ferronite. It says beats rust. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I haven't tried it before, but we will put it on. It says 2 to 4 hours, but we might just leave it on all night and run the gauntlet. So we'll spray this up, leave it, and then I'll be back tomorrow and we'll crack on with the rest of this engine bay. So as you can see, this rust converter here is nice and dry. Now you could go ahead and paint over the top of that if you didn't care what your paint looked like, but I'm actually going to be sanding all this back before we use the filler. We also need to fill all those nooks and crannies with bog as well and get everything sanded back. So we are not out of the woods with the sanding yet, but we are getting close. I am going to seam seal around that diff, make sure that that is nice and sealed up before we get some paint on it. I got a little bit of sanding left to do on like the calipers and stuff like that because I will be painting those. I don't know how I'm not going to paint the rotor itself. Might have to just mask that up. Then we can go ahead and start masking everything up. I'm also thinking about pulling the window rubber off so I can paint right up to the edge. I might not do that yet because it's going to be a different color on the car itself. But yeah, we are getting freaking close and I am bloody excited. I'm gonna start by jumping in and giving that a sand, and we get the bog out, start filling all these holes and keep sanding until our hands don't work no more. I'm just going to quickly hole saw 2 holes on these shock towers so that when we get our extended shocks, we can put a socket down and get to the top because it's near impossible going through the side here. Right, it is time to mix up some bog. I've just got an old can here, but one thing I do suggest, and I have used a fair bit of bog in my life, is get a good quality one. The stuff that you get from like Repco and Super Cheap, it just goes so tacky that it's really hard to work with. You want to get one from a paint shop. It'll be nice and runny, and believe it or not, runny is how you kind of want it. I just got some pieces of cardboard. I just fill it on this, add the hardener, mix it up really quick. And the trick with bog is to work really quick. You don't want to let that stuff dry for too long, otherwise it is just really hard to work with. Right, that's all the bog. It is now time to sand it. My favourite activity. Let's crack on. Holy crap, that was a monster sanding session. I've done about 5 different coats of bog and sanded it back on this side. It was really bad because of that battery tray. But as you can see, that is looking a heck of a lot better. But we won't be able to tell exactly how good of a job I've done until we get some primer on. I'm going to be using a high build primer just in case there are little I mean, let's be real, I know that there is going to be little nooks and stuff that I've missed, and hopefully the high build can fill all them. The good thing about high build is if I spray it on nice and thick, I can go ahead and then sand the top of that. So the sanding is not over, but it is almost over, which is good. I've even patched the little holes that I didn't want to weld up on the firewall there. So everything is done. I've siliconed the diff pumpkin as well. I've gone ahead and wax and grease removed the whole diff, the whole engine bay. So I think we are ready. Let's even see if this stuff is still good, because it's been in my shed for ages. I think it's all right. Definitely a little bit chunky down at the bottom. If I mix it up enough, I think we'll be good. All right, I'm going to thin this down. I'm using 2K thinner. I have no idea if this is right. You're meant to use a multi-thinner normally. So if this doesn't work, back to the drawing board. Now, I'm going to start by saying, guys, I'm not the best painter in the world, so don't expect greatness. This is a cheap gun as well, so probably not the best to do it with this gun. But my only advice, if you are painting at home, is to always try it on an area that no one is going to see. So I'll be painting the front of the car here. Try and quickly set up the gun. Make sure your chemicals and stuff are compatible, which I didn't do, but that's why I'm going to spray the front just in case. 2 or 3 coats should do it. I'm really expecting that there is going to be parts that we are going to need to sand again. So I'll spray it up and we'll have a look. Right, it seems to be spraying really good, so I'm going to go ahead and spray the whole engine bay. Next day, I've fully sprayed out this engine bay with the primer, and it is really nice to see this thing in one color. I wanted to make sure this was nice and dry so we could go over and sand some of these small imperfections. You can see I've already started just to make sure it was dry, but there's like a lump there, so we'll sand that out. Sand a few little imperfections out. There is a little bit up on this firewall. I don't know if you guys are going to see that. That might need a little bit of bog, and that is pretty well it. There's just a few bits here, that little bit on the firewall. I am really surprised that this fender here doesn't need a lot more work than just a little bit of a sand. But unfortunately, we do have to go through and sand the whole engine bay now. What this etch primer does is kind of leave like a furry kind of film on it. Now, if you spray over this, you will see it. It'll kind of like look like bubbles. So you just get a little bit of like 400 or something like that. Just go over it a few times and you can see it just dusts off and goes nice and smooth. So we are gonna have to do the whole engine bay with that before we spray it out. I am super friggin' excited to show you guys what we're doing with the color. But first we do need to go through and sand the whole engine bay down once again. So I'll be back in a sec. All right, engine bay is fully prepped up. Now that took about 4 or 5 hours just to do that, but I'm freaking glad that it's done. Now the corner that had the rust and the battery tray, I had a few little things that I wanted to clean up, and I did rebog, then I had to repaint. I think I made it worse, to be honest. It's not the best side. Not too bad, but there is some like scratches that really should be sanded out. but I am running out of time. I have no 320 sandpaper left. I've only got 240. I think if I sand it with 240, it is going to show the scratches of the sandpaper through the paint. This side here is just about perfect. I'm stoked with that side, but this side has been my problem child. Now for the paint, we are going to be doing something a little bit different to how most people do it, and it's also to save me money because I had this 4-litre tin of satin black left over from doing my bar work on the GU. So what I'm thinking about doing, or what we are doing actually, I'm not thinking about it anymore, we are going to use the satin black as a base coat. Then when we clear it, it'll actually be a gloss black, and we'll have that glossy black finish. And then we've got some gold mica red tone pearl or flake, whatever you want to call it. This is quite like a small flake. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's a very, very nice bright gold. If we can hit it with the satin black, which is why we can do the chassis and the diffs all at once, then we can mask off the chassis and the diffs and just hit some clear on the engine bay. Then we'll mix up some of this stuff into the clear as well, and we'll be spraying that on. Then we'll probably have to do another just normal clear over the top of that. But yeah, not sure if it's gonna work, and not sure if it's gonna look how I'm thinking, but that is what we're doing. So let's start mixing up some black, and hopefully this is gonna work. I think it will, but I'm not sure. The hardest thing is gonna be getting this metallic nice and even. So yeah, I'm gonna start mixing up some paint. I've only got the tiniest bit of thinner left, but luckily you only need 10%. So we'll mix up some paint, start spraying, and hopefully, guys, this works, and we are on the home stretch of this engine bay. It's been friggin' 40 hours of sanding. I'm over it. Get my mask on, it stinks like shit.
All right, that is spraying beautifully.
All right, that is the satin black all sprayed on. That actually turned out really nice. It's crazy to see this all come together finally. I was originally gonna mask it up, but that means that I'd probably have to wait for it to dry. So what I'm gonna do is spray it while it's a little bit tacky. It's the tiniest bit tacky at the moment, so it's perfect to go right now. I'm not gonna mask up, I'll just clear the areas that need to be clear. It doesn't really matter if any of the clear gets on the diff or chassis or anything like that. It's just gonna help protect it that little bit more. But what I'm gonna do is a coat of clear first, then we're gonna play around with the metallic and try and dial in the perfect amount of gold flake. I have a tendency with clear to get runs, so got a bloody mess going at the moment, but this is painting for you. So yeah, we'll get stuck into it and get this engine bay nice and glossy. Even though I got the fan on and the door open, it's not good to breathe this stuff in. So I'm actually just going to finish this up and not do any more talking. So I'm gonna hit it with the clear. I'm then gonna play around with the metallic, mix that into a second coat of clear, and I'll try and dial in the perfect amount of metallic until I'm happy. And then we will have a galaxy looking engine bay up on this GQ. So we'll see you guys in a sec. Wish me luck. Hopefully everything works out. Holy crap, guys. This is freaking awesome. This has turned out so good. Better than I even expected, and I didn't even know if this is gonna work. Obviously, paint is a little bit subjective. This may not look good to you. Did it need the sparkles? Probably not, but I'm freaking glad that we did it because I am blown away with how this friggin' looks. Let's have a gaze. So from back here, she just looks like a gloss black engine bay. And then you're coming up and you see the full gold metallic galaxy friggin' look on this thing. And I put the wheel there. It's not actually on properly, but just so you can get a little bit of a look on how this colorway is turning out. Kind of going to leave everyone guessing with the exterior color. We'll be painting it myself, which I'm not looking forward to. But obviously we've got the blue. It's not sticking around, sadly, even though I don't mind that blue. I think we've got to accent this with something bloody special. And I think I've come up with just that. Now, not only did we make the engine bay bling bling, but the diff doing a bit of a bling bling too. And while I was at it, I decided to do the calipers as well. Can't really see, there you go. A little bit of a gander, but yeah, this is friggin' cool, man. Kind of see the diff from the top of here too, looking real good. I did have this in my head for a while, and this has taken 4 days of sanding, prepping, and painting. And to see it finally come together and look even better than I was expecting, it is honestly such a good feeling. I was being quite careful with my clear coats, but I don't have any runs, which is awesome. And you can see we've got a nice even texture. There's not too much orange peel, although there is a little bit, which we will not be addressing. You can go ahead and buff that out, but it is good enough for me. Actually, I think it is really good. To come straight off the gun into something as glossy as that is a bloody bonus. This is honestly gonna look so good out in the sun. I can't wait to roll it out, but we will have to wait until the next episode to have a look because I wanna let that diff dry before I put a jack under it and jack it up and put the wheels back on. Under the wheel arches are just in the 2K black and the chassis is in the 2K black as well. And I didn't really clear too much. I got a little bit of overspray on it, which doesn't matter. I have been staring at this for the past 30 minutes. Not knowing what to do next, but I think we'll have to end the video here. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if you like the gold and black colorway, and definitely try and guess what color we are painting the exterior of the car. But yeah, let me know what you think, guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next episode.